The shooting range was alive with its usual rhythm, controlled noise, sharp echoes, and disciplined movement. Targets slid back and forth on their tracks, paper silhouettes riddled with neat clusters of holes that reflected weeks or months of routine practice. Instructors spoke in calm, clipped tones, correcting grip, posture, breathing. Nothing about the environment suggested that this session would be remembered. It was the kind of place where repetition ruled, where skill was measured in consistency, not surprise. People came here to train, to refine muscle memory, to do what they had done countless times before. And she looked like just another person blending into that routine. She stood slightly apart from the more confident shooters, adjusting her stance with quiet focus. Her gear was standard, unremarkable, and she didn't draw attention to herself with bravado or unnecessary talk. To anyone watching casually, she appeared focused but ordinary, someone still learning, someone who belonged to the background rather than the spotlight. Even the experienced shooters nearby barely noticed her. Their attention was on their own targets, their own scores, their own quiet competition with themselves. The range officer called the next round. The familiar command echoed, and shooters raised their weapons almost in unison. The atmosphere tightened, not with tension but with habit. Fingers rested on triggers, breaths slowed, and eyes aligned with sights. This was the moment everyone expected to unfold exactly as it always did. A series of controlled shots, a few impressive groupings, a few mistakes, nothing more. Then she fired. The sound itself wasn't louder than the others, but it carried a different weight. It cut through the overlapping cracks of gunfire with a sharp clarity that made heads turn almost instinctively. The shot landed before anyone fully registered it, punching through the target with surgical precision. The range seemed to pause, as if even the echo lingered longer than it should have. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Movements slowed. For a brief second, the structured chaos of the range broke into silence. People looked from the target back to her, trying to reconcile what they had just seen with who they thought she was. The shot wasn't lucky. It wasn't sloppy or wild. It was clean, controlled, and deliberate, the kind of shot that spoke of discipline, timing, and deep understanding. It didn't belong to a beginner or a casual trainee. It belonged to someone who knew exactly what they were doing. That single moment shifted the energy of the entire range. What had been a routine training session now felt charged, almost electric. Whispers replaced casual talk. Eyes lingered longer. The ordinary setting suddenly became the stage for something unexpected. No one said it out loud yet, but everyone felt it. This was no longer just practice. Something rare had just revealed itself, and whatever came next would not be ordinary at all. The Navy SEAL had been watching the range with the detached calm of someone who had seen it all before. His posture was relaxed but precise, every movement economical, the kind of stillness that came from years of operating under pressure. To everyone else, he was the most intimidating presence in the room, not because he tried to be, but because his reputation spoke for him. This was a man trained to notice the smallest details, to read environments and people instinctively, to remain composed when chaos unfolded around him. If anyone here was immune to surprise, it was him. He had been observing casually at first, scanning shooters the way professionals do, noting form, timing, discipline. Most of what he saw confirmed his expectations. Some shooters were decent, some sloppy, a few above average. Nothing truly exceptional. His expression barely changed as shots rang out, each impact predictable, each mistake familiar. This was training, not combat, and nothing here demanded more than passing interest. Then the shot landed. He didn't react immediately, not with words, not with movement. Instead, something far more telling happened. He froze, not out of fear, but out of recognition. His eyes locked onto the target, narrowing slightly, his body instinctively recalibrating as his mind replayed what he had just witnessed. That kind of accuracy wasn't accidental. It wasn't the result of enthusiasm or luck. It was deliberate, controlled, and confident. The kind of shot you see when someone understands weapons on a level that goes beyond instruction manuals and range drills. For a split second, the SEAL forgot where he was. His instincts kicked in as if he were assessing a battlefield rather than a training lane. Distance, angle, timing, all of it aligned too perfectly. He had seen shots like that before, but only under extreme conditions. Only from people who had been forged through pressure most civilians never experience. And yet, here it was, delivered calmly, almost casually, by someone no one had been paying attention to. Around him, others noticed the change. When a Navy SEAL stops moving, people feel it. The air shifted, subtle but unmistakable. Instructors paused. Shooters lowered their weapons. Eyes followed his gaze, searching for the reason behind his sudden stillness. His silence spoke louder than any reaction. If he was impressed, something serious had just happened. He took a slow step forward, eyes still on the target, then back toward her. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't nodding in approval. His expression was focused, analytical, almost cautious. That reaction carried weight. This wasn't admiration handed out lightly. It was professional acknowledgement, the kind that comes when one expert recognizes another. In that moment, her shot became more than just impressive marksmanship. It became validated. The presence of someone so elite transformed a surprising moment into a confirmed one. If even a Navy SEAL froze at what he saw, there was no room left for doubt. Whatever talent had just revealed itself wasn't ordinary. It was exceptional, and everyone in that range understood it now. Before that moment, no one had given her a second look. She didn't fit the image people subconsciously expected when they thought of elite shooters or exceptional skill. She wasn't loud, didn't dominate conversations, and didn't carry herself with exaggerated confidence. She followed instructions, waited her turn, and kept her focus inward. To most of the people around her, she blended seamlessly into the background, just another trainee among many, learning, practicing, trying to improve. That quiet presence worked against her in subtle ways. Assumptions formed quickly and silently. Some thought she was new. Others assumed she was there casually, maybe tagging along, maybe testing a hobby. A few barely registered her at all. In environments like shooting ranges, perception often precedes proof, and skill is frequently judged before it's ever demonstrated. Experience is expected to announce itself through posture, gear, or attitude. She offered none of that. She offered only silence and concentration. Even when she stepped into position, there was no shift in attention. No one leaned in to watch. No instructor hovered near by expecting something special. The eyes of the room were elsewhere, focused on shooters who looked the part, those with confident stances, tactical clothing, and practiced swagger. The irony was cruel and familiar. The more underestimated she was, the less anyone prepared themselves for what was about to happen. That underestimation amplified the impact of her shot. When it landed with such precision, it didn't just surprise people. It challenged their assumptions. Minds scrambled to adjust, to bridge the gap between who they thought she was and what she had just done. The contrast was jarring. A moment ago she was invisible. Now she was undeniable. The same people who had overlooked her were suddenly watching closely, replaying the scene in their heads, wondering how they had missed the signs. There was a shift in how the room treated her, though it was subtle at first. Conversations quieted when she moved. Eyes followed her more openly now. Instructors reassessed her stance, her grip, her breathing, searching for explanations they hadn't bothered to look for before. Respect didn't arrive loudly. It crept in cautiously, mixed with disbelief. Some felt inspired. Others felt uncomfortable, forced to confront their own bias about what skill should look like. For her, nothing changed on the surface. She didn't celebrate or seek validation. Her expression remained calm, focused, almost detached. That composure only deepened the impression. It suggested that the shot wasn't a peak moment but a baseline, that this level of performance was normal for her. And that realization unsettled people even more. The power of that moment didn't come solely from accuracy, it came from contradiction. An underestimated figure had shattered expectations without saying a word. In doing so, she exposed how easily true capability can be overlooked when it doesn't arrive wrapped in familiar appearances. Her silence spoke volumes, proving that sometimes the most dangerous talent in the room is the one no one bothers to notice, until it's too late to ignore. The instant her shot hit the target, the range stopped being just a place for practice and became something else entirely. That single impact split the moment cleanly in two before and after. What had been routine and predictable was now charged with meaning. People weren't just hearing gunfire anymore, they were listening for her. Every movement, every adjustment she made suddenly mattered. The atmosphere shifted from casual repetition to focused attention, as if everyone sensed they were witnessing the beginning of a story rather than a random event. The target itself became the center of gravity. Shooters leaned forward, instructors stepped closer, and even those who hadn't been paying attention now wanted a clear look. The grouping was undeniable, tight, precise, intentional. There was no room to explain it away as coincidence. The evidence was there, silent and absolute. In that moment, the target wasn't just paper and markings, it was proof. Proof that something extraordinary had just happened in a place built for the ordinary. This was the turning point where perception collapsed and rebuilt itself. People began reassessing not just her, but the entire situation. The assumptions they had carried into the range no longer applied. Questions replaced certainty. Who was she? Where did she learn to shoot like that? How long had she been training? The narrative in everyone's mind shifted from passive observation to active curiosity. The range was no longer in control of the session. She was, without trying to be. What made the moment even more powerful was her restraint. She didn't react to the attention, didn't seek eye contact or acknowledgement. She simply reset her stance, as if preparing for the next shot. That quiet confidence transformed the incredible into the undeniable. It suggested that the shot wasn't an accident or a peak. It was just one example of what she could do. The more she treated it as normal, the more extraordinary it became to everyone watching. The turning point rippled outward. Instructors adjusted their tone, shifting from instruction to observation. Fellow shooters, some of whom had arrived with confidence, now felt a subtle pressure. Comparisons formed instantly, and with them, humility. The range had become a measuring stick, and everyone had just been measured against her without warning. Emotionally, the moment carried weight beyond skill. There was awe, yes, but also discomfort. People don't like having their expectations shattered so cleanly. It forces reflection, it exposes bias. It reminds everyone that excellence doesn't always announce itself. That realization lingered in the air, heavier than the echo of the shot itself. From that point on, nothing could return to normal. The routine had been broken, and with it, the comfort of predictability. The range was no longer just a training ground, it was a witness. A single, perfectly placed shot had transformed the environment, the people in it, and the story unfolding within it. Whatever came next would be shaped by that moment. Because turning points don't fade, they redefine everything that follows. As the moment settled and the echoes faded, what remained was not just admiration for her skill, but a deeper realization that lingered in everyone's mind. The range had become a quiet classroom, teaching a lesson no instructor had planned. Talent, it seemed, did not always arrive with warning signs or recognizable uniforms. It could exist quietly, unnoticed, waiting for the exact moment to reveal itself. Her shot had done more than hit a target. It had struck a truth that resonated far beyond marksmanship. People began to reflect on their own assumptions. They replayed the earlier moments, remembering how easily they had dismissed her presence. That discomfort wasn't about embarrassment alone, it was about recognition. Recognition that they, like so many others, had learned to judge capability by appearance, confidence, or reputation. And here stood living proof that those shortcuts could be dangerously misleading. The realization humbled even the most experienced shooters in the room. For the Navy SEAL, the message carried particular weight. Years of elite training had taught him to respect the unexpected, to never underestimate an unknown variable. And yet, even he had not anticipated this. Her performance reinforced a truth he had learned in the harshest environments. The most valuable assets are often the ones overlooked. In his world, that lesson could mean the difference between life and death. Seeing it play out in such a quiet, controlled space made it no less powerful. For her, the moment was not about recognition or praise. It was about authenticity. She had simply done what she knew how to do, without ego or theatrics. That authenticity became part of the message. True skill does not need validation to exist. It speaks when it is time, and until then, it waits patiently. Her calm acceptance of the moment showed confidence rooted not in attention, but in self-awareness. The story that began at the range extended beyond its walls. It became a reminder that potential is not always visible, that greatness often grows in silence. Whether in training, leadership, or life itself, the lesson remained the same. Never assume you know the limits of the person standing next to you. The quiet ones may carry the deepest capability. By the end of the session, the energy had changed permanently. Respect had replaced assumption. Curiosity had replaced indifference, and inspiration had replaced routine. People left the range not just thinking about a remarkable shot, but about their own blind spots and untapped potential. Her single act had sparked something larger, a shift in perspective. In the end, the most powerful impact of her performance was not the precision of her aim, but the clarity of the message it delivered. Hidden potential is real, underestimation is costly, and sometimes all it takes is one moment of excellence to remind everyone that greatness can emerge from anywhere, at any time, when you least expect it.